are continuing with the process of ensuring that there is peace there, or what disarming, or what dispersing. But no, there was no interaction on that.
Would you have understood, Minister, if the National Commissioner had called you and said, now we are executing stage 3 of the plan? Would you have understood what that meant?
No. As I say, that is not my province. It can't be my province that now the police are on the ground, they have to implement this, or they have to use this equipment they have, and so, no, that's not my area.
Excuse me. I shouldn't do it, triple F. Commissioner statement. Excuse me.
Your counsel is taking instruction, discussing the matter with one of her colleagues. Perhaps I can ask you this. This, of course, was not a routine situation. It was quite a serious business, wasn't it? There were 3,000 people, protesters, as they are called, wrongly called. They were strikers involved in, on your information, an illegal gathering. Many of them armed with dangerous weapons. As we've heard, people had been murdered, property had been damaged, other people had been injured. It was on the media, on the television screens every night. There was an enormous amount of public interest and concern in the matter, isn't that so?
Yes, it was.
So you, in fact, yourself had telephoned the Provincial Commissioner early in the morning, I think, of the previous day, to ask if there's any extra you should know, just for an update on the situation.
Yes.
Now, once the police decide they're going to disarm these strikers against their will, in other words, they're going to, if necessary, use some kind of force to disarm them, that was potentially a situation which could have had serious consequences, risks involved and so on. There would surely be nothing wrong for the National Commissioner just to inform you, as a courtesy almost, to keep you up to date, because you'd want it to be kept up to date, that this was going to happen. Isn't that so?
It's correct.
Yeah. So what you tell us is she didn't do that, and your phone records appear to support you on that. But so it's a hypothetical question, really.
Yes.
But the fact is, there wouldn't have been anything unusual at all. In fact, this was a very unusual situation. And frankly, if I'd been the Minister of Police, I would have expected the National Commissioner to have kept me informed if they decide to go over to the so-called tactical option, which means disarming these people against their will. So there would have been nothing improper or inappropriate for her to have informed you, isn't that so?
Nothing. What the point I was making is that when you start talking stage 1, stage 3, and all those detailed operational matters, I don't think I would feature that. But I also don't see anything wrong if the National Commissioner would have found me and told me that we are moving to disarm strikers or people who are on strike. I don't see anything wrong. But the reality of the situation is that when you start getting into operational terms and operational details, this is where I say I don't think that that's my area.
No, I can understand that. But phase 3 of the operational plan is, translated into English, means we're going over to the tactical option. That is to say, we are going to go over to disarm the strikers against their will. We've asked them to lay down their arms voluntarily. They haven't done so. We've now got to go further, and we've got to disarm them against their will. Now that, in plain English, is something that you would have understood. The phrase phase 3 of the operational plan was something you obviously wouldn't have understood. But if it had been put to you in plain English as I have put it, you would have understood immediately, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And as you very fairly concede, that's something that was quite appropriate for the National Commissioner to tell you about.
Absolutely.
Thanks. Your attention to Triple J 192. Now, and that is to be found tab 10 of the file. It's before the bundle that's before you. Please turn to page 9 of that document. For context, Minister, this is a recording of a conversation that took place between the provincial commissioner and certain employees of Lonmin whose names are mentioned in the transcript. So I'd like to direct your attention to the foot of page 9.
In fairness, sorry to interrupt you. It would be fair, I think, if you told the Minister, just in case he doesn't know, that this was a conversation which took place apparently on the Tuesday afternoon, the afternoon of the 12th. Sorry, the afternoon of the 14th. Tuesday afternoon, on the afternoon of the 14th, of course, Tuesday afternoon. So it was 2 days, effectively, before the tragedy occurred.
Yes.
And yes, and two days after your first conversation, your conversation with the provincial commissioner, after speaking to the deputy president and the Minister of Arts and Culture currently and formally, we know their positions at the time.
So the heading on the screen that it was in the morning is apparently incorrect. It was the afternoon.
Thanks, Chair. Now, at the foot of the page, Minister, the SABC commissioner states as follows. But when I was speaking to Minister Mthethwa, it's a typographical error that's meant.
Is that page 9?
At the foot of page 9, Minister. Page 9 of the transcript. Line 29. The transcript you will find that we don't have it.
This is where the Triple J 192.
That's right.
Yes, and I'm on page 9. So where are you?
At the foot of page 9?
Yes. On the foot of page 9, there is Mr. Mokoena and SABS commissioner.
Yeah.
It's the passage. Mr. Mokoena says yes.
Yes,
and the SABS
yes.
commissioner, that's General Mbombo, says, but when I was speaking to Minister, it should be Mthethwa, he mentioned a name to me that he's also calling him, that is pressurizing him. Unfortunately, it is a politically high, and Mr. Mokoena says it is Cyril, and she then continues, Cyril Ramaphosa, yes.
I can see it now.
Remember when I was talking to the National Commissioner last night, this on the Monday night it would have been, she says to me, look, General, who are the shareholders here? So I said, I do not know the shareholders, but I know that when I spoke to the Minister, he mentioned Cyril. And then she says, now I got it. You know why she says she got it? Remember, Cyril was in the appeal committee of Malema, remember? Mokoena, yes. Commissioner, he was very strong in terms of the decision that was made, and then they go on to discuss that further. But the key point I think that your counsel is putting to is, what do you say about her allegation at the foot of page 9 onto the top of page 10 that this person who was politically high, who was apparently Mr. Ramaphosa, was pressurizing you?
Thanks, Chair.
Firstly, I'm trying to understand politically high, and
he was, I think, on the National Executive Committee of the ANC. So that would be politically high, I would have thought.
Oh.
Some people may not agree, but I would have thought.
No, no, thanks, Chair. I have alluded to a call by Mr. Ramaphosa that he raised concerns the same way Mr. Zokwane did. So they were raising concern with the Minister of Police at the time.
Yes.
And I took it that way. Now, I'm not sure. I've never came to that situation where somebody would put pressure on me, on my job. So they were raising concern. I took it that way.
Points really aren't there. The first is, did you regard Mr. Ramaphosa as endeavoring to pressurize you, to put pressure on you?
Honestly, I don't regard anybody who would put pressure on me.
Okay. All right, that's the first point. Second point is, did you use that word when you spoke to the Provincial Commissioner? You know, she says, when I was speaking to Minister Mthethwa, he mentioned a name to me, but he's also calling him that he's pressurizing him. Now, did you use that word in your conversation with the Provincial Commissioner?
Well, I wouldn't know where pressure would come from. But as I say, my interpretation and listening to the two gentlemen talking to me, they were talking as people who were concerned, Chair, about what was happening. And what I said to the Provincial Commissioner is that I've been talking to Mr. Ramaphosa and Mr. Zokwana on the phone. And they raise these things which I said, that as far as they are concerned, they think that police are not adequate on the ground.
Thanks, Minister. That takes us to... that takes us back to your statement now, concluding this undue pressure topic. Paragraph 87, you state there that at no stage did you exert undue influence upon any member of the operational team. The call data attached to the statement does not bear those allegations out. Do you confirm that?
Yes, I do.
Yes. And you then mention paragraph 89, that you receive reports of this nature from time to time, i.e. reports of the sort that you received from the current Deputy President and the Minister of Agriculture. And as a matter of course, you relay that to the National Commissioner and head team for appropriate intervention if necessary.
Yes.
You confirm that.
Yes.
And then say Marikana was no different.
Yes.
And you then emphasize or restate the crux of what passed between you and National Commissioner on the one, operational team on the one hand, and the other people on the other hand during your telephone conversations. I don't want you to go there again because you've already testified about that. I'm just wrapping up this section. But you do confirm.
Yes.
And you then conclude with a denial, therefore, based on the facts that you've stated to this commission of any allegation of undue influence.
Yes.
Thanks, Minister. Now, that, Chairman, takes us to the next topic. Not sure at what stage Chairperson would like to take.
I was proposing to take it at 2:15, but if it's more convenient for you that I should take it now, we'll do so. You want me to take the tea break now?
Please, Chair,
All
just
right.
so that...
Well, we'll come back, I hope, at 12 o'clock.
Thanks, Chair.
Commission resumes. Minister, you're still bound by your affirmation. Mr. Nkosi Thomas.
Thank you, Chairperson, Commissioners. When we took the adjournment, Minister, we were about to move to the next topic. That topic being, we call it media statements. In the supplementary statement, page 31 of your supplementary, Minister.
It should be tab.
It's on the screen. It's paragraphs 98 and following.
It's in your supplementary statement, paragraph, that's it. Paragraph 98 and further. Now, in this regard, Minister, let's start off by asking you the question. Is there a policy in government or within the police service, particularly, known as maximum force policy? Are you aware of any such policy?
No, there is no such policy.
Now, if people were to suggest to you that there is such a policy and that you are the author thereof, what would your response be?
Well, we have the SABC Act, which we are working, mainly the principal policy or the principal act. We have the policy as we're talking about here. We have many other prescripts which underpins how policing should be conducted in South Africa. So these pieces of legislation and policies are speaking primarily to the orientation of police in South Africa today under democracy. So there is adequacy of laws, policies which are governing how policing should take place in South Africa today.
Now, when you're saying there are structures that are out there to ensure accountability, which structures do you have in mind?
Well, there are quite a number. Some are structures which affect anybody, like the Auditor General's office, but specifically with police, it would be your police secretariat, the civilian secretariat for police. It would be IPID, the Independent Police Investigative Directorate. So those structures are seized with the task of ensuring oversight over the police service in South Africa today.
Now, mention has been made before this commission of such statements as maximum force, for example, fighting fire with fire, having been made by you, Minister, in some of the public addresses. I'm simply going to ask you to tell this commission, give a context, in other words, that led to these statements being made. But perhaps before I do that, let me ask you this direct question. Were these statements made within the crowd management context?
No.
Now, what is the context within which the statements were made?
Well, thanks, Chair. When I was given the responsibility to head the portfolio of police in 2008, the situation in the country at the time was dire, especially by the gangs, criminal gangs, who were terrorizing people in cash-in-transit heists. A lot of life and limb was lost during that period because these were people who were driven by greed and pure criminality to rob banks and cars carrying cash. Now, it was a situation where there was pressure on police and people suggesting that police are unable to deal with this thing, which was affecting everybody because of the level of violence and the kind of violence which was demonstrated through this cash-in-transit heist. And at the same time, ordinary citizens, police were being killed. At some point, because it was a new task, we were tempted to think of following what the trend was, that let's bring in the army so that it does away with this thing, because police have failed. Now, on second thought, I said, no, that won't happen. Police must deal with this thing, and they must deal with it head on, because it was creating such a situation of anarchy in our country. And I said to police that they must ensure that they meet these criminals head on. They would have to fight them on the language they understand. They have to fight fire, because we are talking about highly trained people here who are using sophisticated weaponry. So that was the context. I would say it's history now, because nobody is talking about that, nobody's panicking about that now, and so on. It's like it never existed. But it was confronting us, and we had to respond. We had to motivate members of SABC to deal with this thing. And it was in that context that we were raising this thing of fighting fire with fire, because there was heavy fire in the hands of the criminals.
What did you mean? Fighting fire with fire. Can you please explain what you meant by that to the Commission?
It meant that when there is no opportunity to apprehend the scoundrels on the ground at the time, police should not subject South Africa to fear and pain. They must cut that. Because they were using weapons, these people, police are armed as well, so they had to confront them. This is what we meant.
Now, Chair, may I direct now your attention, please, to Exhibit FF17. It's not in that bundle, but Minister, you have it in the second bundle, the cross-examination bundle. And may we request that it be put up on screen? FF17. That would be the submission by Kesak, dated August 2012. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Now, page 22, please. Oh. Do you have it, Minister?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, you're happy to work from the screen. Paragraph 19 B, they quote you, and I'll just read it for convenience. 5 days later, speaking to VET students on the sidelines of a meeting of the newly formed, the minister said, they're quoting you now, police must return fire with fire. Full stop. We will use maximum force based on the law itself. Those who want to break the law, such as cash in transit heists and bank robberies, must think again. They should know that we will not waver in continuing to let them feel the heat, and that we squeeze them with maximum force. Can you see that, Minister?
Yes, sir.
When you said police will return fire, must return fire with fire based on the law, what did you mean by that?
Well, we meant what we were saying in that would emphasize police working within the law, because in terms of Section 49, it clarifies, and we sought to clarify even from the beginning when we're given this responsibility, it clarifies when to use deadly force and under what circumstances. So the point we're making here is that whatever is being done has to be done within the confines of the law.
Now, same page of the same exhibit, at paragraph 20, the last line there, it says the point is that there is no need to be heavy-handed with people who are not harming people. Please talk to that, Minister.
Well, it relates to how police and what we've been preaching throughout our term of office. And what we've been preaching is that for police to succeed in any democracy, one of the fundamental pillars they need to lean on is strengthening the partnership with the public. And therefore, approaching criminals armed to teeth, ready to kill at any slightest provocation or no provocation, and policing ordinary citizens are two different things. And the point we're making here is that there is no need for police to be heavy-handed when they are dealing with ordinary people. People may be in their residential areas or elsewhere, but there is a distinct group we talk about when we talk about police having to defend themselves, because the import of this fire with fire, it's mainly defending because there's fire out there. But with general populace, what we've been doing during our term of office was to go to communities almost in all provinces, interacting with ordinary people, getting feedback on how they are policed by police, going to areas not because there's trouble or something has happened, but just to interact and exchange views with members of the public. So this is what is meant, because we've emphasized the point that ours is a caring government. So therefore, there is no need then to display something contrary to that as members of South African Police Service.
Minister, in the section dealing with this political rhetoric, so-called, you refer to the Batupili principles. Were those applicable within the police service?
Well, in fact, the entire government's approach is that that is one very important direction which distinguishes us as a democracy from where we come. That whatever police do, in fact, emphasizing the point I've just made, is that they must think of people first. So in other words, how they approach and how they deal with people should be humane as government, so that we know that ours is a privilege of serving these people, and there is no need to be seen to be fighting with people. And by the way, in our country today, we've had a lot of protests, we've had a lot of gatherings and so on. And those gatherings, most of them have been peaceful, precisely because we preach this gospel every time, and this is what we are about as a democracy.
Now, Minister, in conclusion, now just concluding your testimony, your evidence in chief, really, is there anything that you wish to add to what you have told this commission this morning?
Well, thanks, Chair. I would want to acknowledge really what happened in Marikana, and say that whatever happened was not supposed to happen under democracy. Something terribly wrong took place there. Where exactly that happened, I'm sure this honorable commission is seized with that, and at the end will get whatever happened. But this is a matter of national and international proportion. And that is why government, through the president in particular, decided to appoint this commission to finalize its job within 4 months, so that we are able to learn whatever lessons needed to be learned as a society and move forward. And on that one, I think, as we also expressed in the aftermath of this tragedy, because it was indeed a tragedy, visiting democracy, our own democracy in the country. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Just a second, please, to confer with my colleagues before we conclude. That's the examination in chief, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nkosi Thomas. Mr. Bezos. Allocated 3/4 of an hour, which will take us to 1 o'clock, and you'll have a short little period after lunch to round up with what you will do.
Minister, please turn to paragraph 100 in your supplementary statement. Yes, it's exhibit 4 times C1.
Yes.
Paragraph 100. You got it?
Yes, I do.
Right. It is significant to clarify and provide context to the circumstances under which the statements maximum force and fighting fire with fire are articulated. Then we go on to paragraph 101. I made the following statement. Quote, we don't believe that when you are faced with criminals armed with sophisticated weaponry, the police's task would be to take out some human rights charter. I want to stop there. What did you mean by that, Commissioner? I beg your pardon, Minister. What did you mean by that?
I meant what is said here from a point of police facing criminals who are wielding weapons, that there is no time to take out and read the Human Rights Charter to those criminals because they won't even hear you.
Why did you use the expression in this context with the Constitution or a constitutional charter? Why did you use that expression?
Well, I use the expression because the question had been about whether this statement is not violating the human rights of those scoundrels.
I see. So you think that the Constitution actually, to use the expression often used by those that want to discredit the Constitution, is that the Constitution protects criminals more than ordinary people. Is that what you meant?
I don't mean that. I think it's your interpretation. What I meant was responding to a specific question, not about the Constitution, about somebody asking me a question, whether those people do not have human rights or they are not subjected, they are not supposed to be subjected to human rights.
I want to know from you, Minister, whether you believe that the Constitution is an impediment to proper policing.
Maybe I would need clarity. Where would that come from?
No, I am asking you the question.
No,
And I'm looking for an answer from you.
No. I've never said the Constitution is an impediment in the fight against crime.
Right. Taken together with paragraph 104 over the page, the last sentence, as long as section 49 is there, these criminals will have a field day. You said that?
Yes, I did.
What is your objection to section 49?
It was a discussion on the amendment of the section.
Yes, I know.
Yes.
But what is it?
Yes.
Is it a portion of the amendment that you are objecting to?
I was objecting to not to amend. I was objecting, pushing for amendment of section 49 in line with the judgment of the Constitutional Court and Walters.
Yes.
Yes.
Have you had any legal training, Minister?
Legal training?
You're an attorney?
No.
No. Any legal training?
No.
No. You seem to know the judgment in relation to section 49, do you?
Yes, because the legal team in the department had to brief me about it.
Yes. You know that the Constitutional Court unanimously held, together with Justice Krichler, that it was not unconstitutional because it had to be interpreted in the manner in which the 11 judges set out. Did you know that?
I was informed, yes.
You were informed. And the judge actually suggested that the legislature may find it convenient for the guidance of the police if what the court had said was incorporated into an amendment to Section 49. Were you informed of that?
That it should be amended.
Yes.
Yes.
If the police chose to and they wanted clarity, they should read the judgment and they should amend Section 49 accordingly. You knew that.
Yes.
Now, you say, as long as Section 49 is there, these criminals will have a field day. You meant that what the Constitutional Court unanimously decided and what the legislature decided to amend was something that you wanted to get rid of.
No, that's not the interpretation.
Well, what did you mean, if
Well,
not that?
That in the form it was creating ambiguity and uncertainty to people now who have to implement the act itself, without saying that doing away, because changing or not changing the act, that's the preserve of the legislatures.
You know, Minister, I don't want to repeat the questions unnecessarily. What objection did you have to the amendment of the Act? We have it on the computer here. It says that you can use proportional force. Proportional force. You remember that? Did you want to get rid of that amendment?
No.
What did you want to go away in relation to Section 49?
With Section 49, as I'm repeating even now, we wanted to ensure that whatever we do, there's no ambiguity. It becomes clear. In other words, simplify it as much as possible so that those who are implementing the act understand exactly what is expected of them. That's not opposition.
That's not what you say. What you say, as long as Section 49 is there, these criminals will have a field day. That, put in other words, is get rid of Section 49 amendment. Isn't that what it means?
Well, it may be captured that way, but if you check the records throughout, we were talking about clarifying.
I am asking you what you meant, sir. Please answer the question. What did you mean other than what I am putting to you?
I've said what I meant.
I beg your pardon?
I have said what I meant.
What did you mean?
I said that Section 49, as it stood, needed to be clarified and simplified so that whatever ambiguity is there is taken away of that. I understand what you are saying about how it is captured here, but throughout the process of amending Section 49, this is the point we have always made.
Words mean what they say, Minister, and I will leave it at that. but put to you this, that you are trying to explain away the contents of your statement in paragraph 100. I'm sorry, 101. And you say, this is what I intended. What I want to put to you, Minister, that you were not alone of that view. You have had an opportunity, I'm sure that your legal representatives, because we gave notice of the fact that we are going to use it, you have regard to the contents of triple F 17, have you?
Excuse me. Triple F. That should be tab what?
Triple F 17.
It's not in the, it's in the bundle of documents, which, it's on the screen now. It's in the bundle of documents which were presented to the Commission for use in your cross-examination. In other words, it's not among the documents used in your examination in chief. One of the documents to be used by the LRC in cross-examining you. And there, now it's on the screen. It's the submission by the Council for the Advancement of the South African Constitution.
Chairperson, the Minister has it under tab 14 of his cross-examination bundle. Minister, if you could please turn to... Thank you.
Looks to me as if you've got your cross-examination bundle there, but I'm not sure you've got the right tab. Is that tab 14 that you're looking at?
Yes, it's triple F 14, is it? Or 17? This one, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Look at the screen, you'll
It's
see
the same
the
one.
document you're being referred to.
Yes.
That's the correct one. Thanks.
Have you got it?
Yes.
Now, what I am going to put to you is that you were not alone in the statement that you made in paragraph 101. You were part of a chorus of people, and I will name them, set out in this exhibit by a statement by Safety and Security Deputy Minister Susan Shabangu, yourself, sorry, Mr. Chairman, on a number of occasions, Mr. Seller, when he was commissioner for a certain period, President Zuma, and you over and over again. And this chorus is to this effect, that the Constitution and the legislation protects criminals, and we cannot control crime as police force unless we ignore the constitutional safeguards. That's what this means. So that we don't have to confine ourselves to what you said, and you say that it's wrongly understood. Reading the two documents together, we will submit is ample evidence that you and your colleagues involved in the police resented the fact that there was protection by the Constitution and by the legislation and the standing orders in relation to people committing crimes, irrespective of what they may be, including...
Yes, Mr. Nkosi Thomas?
Well, Chair, it's
sorry.
me rather. One, the question is too long, but I want to take exception and objection that there was any pronouncement by members of government that the Constitution must be ignored. That proposition is not
Yes, Mr. Bezos, you made a statement without citing the authority or quoting the person whose remarks, or persons whose remarks you were summarizing.
Yeah.
And what Mr. Semenya says is that you're not correct in suggesting that any member of the government said there's something wrong with the Constitution. Perhaps, if you want a meaningful answer from the witness, you should put to him the precise wording upon which you rely.
Yes.
Well, I must confess, my impression is the same as Mr. Semenya's. There were provisions, and still are, in the Police Act, which provide the police must use minimum force. Yes. There are provisions also in the standing orders which say the same. While this witness was minister, he never did anything to cause the standing orders to be changed in that regard. So, but I know there are certain statements which you have in mind which are quoted in some of the documents before us. Perhaps it would be helpful if you put them directly to the witness so we can get his response.
Yes. What I'm putting to you is that these statements, your statement and the statements of the other persons, show that the Constitution, provisions in the Constitution, and provisions in the standing orders, and provisions in the enactments, like Section 49, were a hindrance to police carrying out their duties properly.
The point Mr. Semenya makes is if you want to put a statement like that to the witness for his comment, you should quote the exact words relied on. It's no good saying there are statements to the effect the Constitution is an impediment. Well, Mr. Semenya says he doesn't know of any. Well, he may be wrong on that. But if there are statements that say that, then you must put them to the witness in fairness to him, so he has an opportunity to deal with them.
The statements that I am relying on, I am prepared to read out, but I will apply for an extension of the time period that I have to read them out in order to satisfy the objection made by Mr. Semenya.
This is an important point, Mr. Bezos. I understand that, and I'll give you an extension for that purpose.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, the exhibit, triple F 14, I beg your pardon, triple F 17, just hold on. Okay. On page 13, under the heading Statements, Actions Subsequent to 12 November 2009. Sorry. I started to begin. Yes. Sorry. Yes. I had the pages mixed up. On page 11, statements and actions during the period 2008 to 12th of November 2009.
You say page 11. We're being shown page 13 at the moment. You want a passage earlier in the
11,
document.
yes.
11 is now coming up. Which
Yes,
paragraph number? It's paragraph 7 and following, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll read what the exhibit says. It is submitted that the following statements and or actions during the period April 2008 to 12 November 2009 may be taken as evidence that the responsible officials of government had a deliberate policy that involves encouraging greater use of force by members of the South African Police Service. 8. The statement by the then Deputy Minister of Safety and Security, Suzanne Shembangu, on the 9th of April 2008 to the effect, "You must kill the bastards," in brackets, criminals, if they threaten you or the community. You must not worry about the regulations. I want no warning shots. You have one shot, and that must be a kill shot. I want assurance. The police station commissioners and policemen and women from these areas that they have permission to kill these criminals. I will not tolerate any pathetic excuses for you not being able to deal with crime. You have been given guns. Now use them. If criminals dare to threaten the police or the livelihood or lives of innocent men, women, and children, then they must be killed. Did you know about the statement? Did you associate yourself with it?
Before you answer that question, can I ask you this? When were you appointed Minister of Safety and Security? I think you were first, the department was then called Safety and Security. It was then went back to its old name of Police later. But when were you appointed the minister in that department?
September 2008.
September 2008.
Yes.
So you were not the minister at the time when the then deputy
Yes.
made the statement that's been quoted here.
Yes.
That's correct. Who was your predecessor?
Minister Ngakula.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, did you ever dissociate yourself from your predecessors?
She wasn't his predecessor. She was the deputy to his predecessor.
Yes. Did you ever dissociate yourself from the state?
Well, there was a minister at the time. I don't think that that was my area to associate or to dissociate myself.
The next paragraph of this exhibit says the Deputy Minister Shabangu's words were not repudiated by the leadership of the African National Congress and the South African government. Mr. Zuma became President of South Africa in May 2009 and appears to have represented a broad agreement reinforced as follows. The fact that on 11th of April 2008, 2 days after Mr. Shabangu made the above statement, Mr. Zuma, who was then the president of the ANC, said, quote, if you have a deputy minister saying this kind of things that the deputy minister was saying, this is what we need to happen. What the deputy minister...
I think in fairness you should read the next sentence, Mr. Peter.
Yes. What the deputy minister was saying is what we are to be doing is dealing with the criminals rather than talking about it. Now, do you subscribe to that view? This is what the president said. Would you agree with the president and with Ms. Shabangu?
Am I supposed to be answering for statements I never made?
No. I need
clarity.
Sir, you have made a similar statement. You wanted to put an interpretation on it which we do not accept. In order to support our submission that this is a trend, this is what your colleagues have said. Do you associate yourselves, have you associated yourself with the statements that they have made or not? Or do you associate or do you repudiate their statements? Now, what is your view as a previous...
It's quite a tangled, complicated question, Mr. Peter. It's about 3 or 4 questions wrapped up in one. I think you put them separately. So at the time, as we've heard, he wasn't the minister in charge of that department.
Yes.
And Deputy Minister Shabangu was not his deputy.
Yes.
And the other point is that Mr. Zuma was then held no public office and was the president of the ANC, but not of the country. But I take it the real question is, when he became the Minister of Safety and Security, in the latter part of 2008, did he at any stage associate himself with what had been said earlier? That's really the question you're asking him. Am I correct? Yes. That's the first part of your question. There were 4 questions, I think. But at the time Minister Shabangu made these remarks, Deputy Minister Shabangu made these remarks at the time, he wasn't the minister in charge of that department. So his point is he couldn't really be called upon to deal with a matter relating to another department and one of his colleagues' deputies. Equally, Mr. Zuma was not holding public office at the time. He was just a politician, president of a political party. When he so your real question, surely, I take it, must be, when you became Minister of Safety and Security, and thereafter, same department, differently named police, did you at any stage associate yourself with or disassociate yourself from these remarks? Is that the question?
Yes.
Yeah, right. Well, let's get the witness's answer.
Yes. What is your answer? You've heard the question.
Well, firstly, I saw this statement, some of them here in this package.
Yes.
So
Do
I
you
never
agree
had.
with them or disagree?
Did I agree with them?
Do you agree?
No, Mr. Pizos, you're interrupting. What he's making is that some of these statements he saw for the first time in the package, so he couldn't have dissociated himself from them.
Yes.
But so the real question is, which of them did you know about? And then you can ask the following the question that follows.
Chairperson, no, I think we're going too far now.
Mr. Mpofu, this is not, you're not cross-examining.
No, Chairperson. Well, you allowed Mr. Semenya. He was not cross-examining either. Can I intervene?
No,
I have an interest in this matter. The question that is being asked is whether the witness associates now, not whether he associates then. So let's not change the question, please,
Mr. Mpofu,
just to
please,
suit the witness.
If you listen carefully to what I said, you will realize that your objection is unfounded. I put to Mr. Bezos, he'd asked about 4 questions wrapped up in one. The first lot related to his conduct at the time, whether he dissociated himself, etc. There were later questions about what his position is at the moment. I wasn't stopping him from asking those, but my approach to these matters is that to be fair to a witness, you shouldn't ask a witness 4 questions bundled up as one. Yes. You must ask the questions separately, and the witness will answer them separately. And Mr. Bezos accepted that suggestion. So you're out of order. I disallow you. Let's carry on, Mr.
Chairperson, no, I'm going to speak. I'm going to speak. Be assured by that. I'm saying I accept what you're saying, Chairperson. And in fact, it's part of the dangers of asking too many questions. But one of those dangers is that then the question sometimes gets changed. And I'm saying that, I'm not saying it's your fault, Chairperson, but I'm saying that the question that was being asked is not whether the witness disassociated himself then. It's whether he disassociates with the statements now.
Yeah. He asked 2 questions. He asked 2 questions, or more than 2 questions. He's a very experienced senior counsel, cross-examiner, many years' experience. I'm sure I can rely on him when he says he will ask the question.
No, it's you who made the mistake, not him, Chairperson. I'm just saying that the question must not change to whether he dissociated then. It's you, not Mr. Bezos.
I don't want to waste further time on nonsense. The fact is, the question
well,
was asked
Chairperson, I take great exception to that kind of language.
Take great exception. We'll carry on.
Well,
Mr. Bezos' question is on record.
Chairperson, no. Are you saying the question, I must allow the question to be changed and not answered on the basis that I'll ask it when I'm cross-examining?
No, I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is something different. Saying Mr. Bezos asked about 4 questions in one. I put one of them related to the conduct of the witness in the past, relating to disassociation.
Yes.
The latter part of the bundle related to his present stance.
Correct.
When I said to him, you must put the questions separately, he agreed. And he said he was going to do that. So I'm quite sure that Mr. Bezos, when he's got the answer to the first questions in his bundle, will ask the questions at the latter end of the bundle. So there's no problem at all.
I want
Mr.
to
Bezos,
assure
please
my
proceed.
learned friend that I will ask that he agreed then, and I'm going then to ask him, does he agree now what he said? And then I have another third question depending on his answers.
Well, let's ask those questions separately, or you ask the question separately. Let's get the witness's answer, not waste further time on answers. Carry on.
You were part of the government. What portfolio did you have when
I was the Minister of Safety and Security first, and then Minister of Police.
Minister of?
Minister of Safety and Security first, then Minister of Police.
I think you're understanding the point. When these statements were made, you weren't yet Minister of Safety and Security. What were you Minister of before you were appointed to the position of Minister of Safety and Security?
I was not a minister.
You were not a minister. Were you a member of Parliament?
Yes.
You were interested in this matter because you had already made a statement at a committee meeting in Parliament. So you were not ignorant of the debate that was going on as to whether...
No. Mr. Bezos, the statement made at the Select Committee of Parliament is referred to in paragraph 101 of his supplementary statement. That was made on the 12th of November 2008, after he had become the Minister of Safety and Security. That's my understanding. Am I right? Am I right, Minister?
Yes, correct. Correct.
Yes. Could I leave this out for a moment because of... But please look at paragraph 13 of the exhibit.
Page? What page?
It says, on a similar theme...
Sorry, what page?
I'm sorry.
Page 12 of the exhibit.
Page 12, paragraph 13.
Okay.
On a similar theme, Mr. Mthethwa told the Sunday Independent newspaper interview that the police needed to be more aggressive in defending themselves. We don't want some hesitation from the police, as 117 policemen died last year because they hesitated to defend themselves as they feared the media and some human rights practitioners. Mr. Mthethwa also said that we are at war with criminals. Did you say that?
Yes, I did.
Does that mean that you found yourself in substantial agreement with Ms. Shambanga?
If you read, as you were, this statement and other statements, I have emphasized the category of people I was referring to and I've always referred to.
Do you?
Now, if what Deputy Minister Shabang meant what I said and was referring to the category of people I've been talking about, then it means we were saying the same thing. I don't know. I see this extract here. I don't have an appreciation of what prompted Deputy Minister Shabang or the President to say whatever they said.
Do you believe that there are human rights practitioners who are feared by members of the police in carrying out their duties?
Yes, they would have expressed that to me, both the media and some people would always see everything wrong with them as police. They have said that, yes.
And if we go back to the previous page, what do you say? The answer is that human rights, lawyers, for instance, judges, ordinary citizens, that the police are trigger happy, if I may use the expression, then they must be ignored.
Trigger happy? No, they should not be ignored. But when necessary, they have to do what the Act says they must do. And in fact, that very expression, trigger happy, if you read all the statements, you will find in this very extract here that I talk about that all the time, that there is no place for members of SABS who are trigger happy.
Mr. Bezos, it's 1 o'clock, so when we reach an appropriate stage in your cross-examination, please tell me so we can then take the lunch adjournment.
I'm going to quote a statement from Mr. Tseller. It's a brief one. Perhaps I should do it. Mr. Tseller, well, the appointment of Mr. Beke Selle as National Commissioner of the SABC in July 2009. At the time when he was appointed, Mr. Tsele already had a reputation.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Bezos. You're quoting from the exhibit FF17. If so, would you please give us the paragraph number?
14.
Pardon?
Page 12, paragraph 14.
All right, thank you. Perhaps they can show us. There we go.
Yes. Shall I start again, Mr. Chair? The appointment of Mr. Beke Selle as National Commissioner of the SABC in July 2009. At the time he was appointed, Mr. Selle already had a reputation for advocating the aggressive use of force and continued to openly do so during his initial months after he was appointed. For instance, in an address to the Pretoria Press Club in September 2009, Mr. Tsele is reported to have said that criminals were heavily armed with R5 assault rifles, and that the only language that R5s understand is R5s. The police do not have to think twice and lose their lives. Now,
What's the question you want to ask the witness based on that?
this was a commissioner of police.
I understand, but what's the question you're asking the witness about?
Do you agree with his statement?
It's in line with what I've been saying since this morning. It's very specific. It's not talking about any other South African. So it's in line with what I was saying.
Yes. You say that this is what Mr. Selle says is in accordance with the Constitution. Is that what you're saying?
It is in accordance with the Act that if police are under danger, they would have to use deadly force, and this is what he's saying here.
Aren't there some qualifications, both in the Constitution and in the Act and Section 49, in relation to proportionality and other matters?
Yes.
He doesn't say that.
But
he says that the only way that they can do it is by answering fire with fire.
But this is proportionality. He is talking about people who are carrying R5s. And he is saying that those people understand that language. That's what you are saying.
You say that you have no objection to what Mr. Selle said, and
No, I don't
you
have.
would support what
I
he
don't
said.
have objection.
Beg your pardon?
I don't have objection.
You don't have any objection?
No.
I mean, the short point is that Mr. Tsele was appointed National Commissioner while you were Minister.
Yes.
And if you had disagreed with what he said, the statements he made received quite extensive publicity. And if you disagreed with what he said, you'd have made that clear.
Yeah.
Oh. Can we take the lunch adjournment now, Mr.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
quarter to 10 to 2.
I'm coming. Yeah, you get it.